Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Good morning to you. This is Bill Bullock, and welcome to a few quality moments at the Shabbat table with the Rabbi's son. Hopefully this will be a time when we can really focus our attention worldwide, individually, family by family, across the world, on the wisdom and the words of the Creator of the universe. There are so many voices speaking to us. There are so many movements. There are so many positions. There are so many agendas being broadcast. But what if on a Shabbat, one day, one Sabbath, or some series of Sabbaths, humanity, one by one, family by family, group by group, was able to connect with the sound of the voice and the wisdom and the messages and the directions of the Creator of the universe. What if today was a day like that? Welcome again to a few quality moments sitting with the Rabbi's son at the Shabbat table. Today we are talking about the 17th Parsha, the 17th subdivision of the Torah, of the great wisdom download that the Creator of the universe desired for us to seek and seek out first. When you seek first the kingdom of the heavens and his righteousness, you're seeking the Torah. This is the first fruits. This is the fountain out of which all revelation and all truth will flow. This is the energy source out of which the prophets will come. And they will all relate back to the Torah. They will say, go back to the Torah, return to the Torah. That's the prophetic message. Then the writings all will focus on how to interpret, how to apply, how to make a life based upon the Torah. And then, of course, there is the Brit Hadashah, or the apostolic scriptures, as you wish to call them, in which it says, now this is what it looks like in real time, in flesh, in real people, following the lead of the Messiah that I've been promising since Genesis 3. Actually, since Genesis 1, but we won't have time to get into there's just different prophecies of that. So this is Parsha Yitro. I call this the Sinai Initiative, a whole new paradigm for understanding God-man relations and the purpose of the interactions and the purpose of both. So what is the purpose of mankind? We're going to find out today. But we're going to find out, first of all, there are other people, other voices, other messengers trying to give us their message. It's not a message of life. It's a message of a structure, organization. It's a message of agenda. But it's not a message of life. But the Holy One, when he speaks, oh, you know it. His voice has the resonating power of creativity and creation and redemption and restoration in it. And we know that voice because of the power in it. Well, this is a subdivision or subheading, I guess, of this Parsha, and this discussion that we'll have this day is cutting covenant at Sinai. Covenant, brit, making a pact, making a life-changing, life-altering, future redirecting covenant, a agreement, reaching a meeting of the minds, a responsiveness to a divine call, all taking place at Sinai. We will have, of course, what the world has come to call, strangely enough, and even theologians in both Judaism and Christianity have chosen to pick up this name and call it the 10 Commandments. Oh, beloved, if you take anything at all away from our little time at the Rabbi's son's Shabbat table today, our little quality time at this table, I pray you will take away this. Don't call them the 10 Commandments. That's not what they are. They are the Aseret Hadibrot. That's what the Bible calls them. That's what the Torah calls them. That's what the prophets call them. The Aseret Hadibrot, the 10. And we'll talk about words, special kinds of words. 10 words that define the God-man relationship. 10 words that define the purpose of mankind and how to maximize mankind's effect upon creation and upon one another. This is the season, cutting covenant at Sinai. And our response to that this week is na'aseh, a Hebrew phrase that means, and we will make it happen. We will build it. We will cause it to come into existence. We'll bring it forth in manifestation. We will be the vessels out of which you bring forth what your words and your vision for mankind will be. Na'aseh. We are missing one phrase that we'll pick up in a couple of weeks, and which will be the most important one. Na'aseh v'nishma, and we will build these things, we'll make them happen, and we will always be in resonance, shemaing, hearing, listening to, paying attention to, flowing in resonance with, and bearing the fruit of what you said. The Na'aseh v'nishma will be our ultimate commitment. Okay. This is the week in which the Holy One's plan finally becomes our plan. We adopt it. We don't just wait to see what he might say, take our chances. We might follow him, we might not. We might do what he wants to do, we might not. We give up our free will voluntarily because of the majesty of his purpose, and the beauty of his person, and the wonder of his voice, and the vision, the glorious vision that he has. That will be too much for us to want to hold on to our own human vision, our own human ideas of what's important and valuable. We will wholeheartedly adopt his vision, his plan. We will wholeheartedly be absorbed into his beauty realm and his wisdom realm. This is the week when his plan will become our plan by our choice, by his calling, but by our choice. This is the week when his ways will become our ways. We will have to work it out. We're not going to step into this full grown and mature, but we will commit. This is our truth. We commit our truth. This is like a betrothal. So this is the week whenever we were going to hear things like what it said, the Sinai initiative. Sinai means sharp thorn, a thorn. And it's going to be like our flesh, our pseudo-intellect, everything has been pricked, everything has been poked, and now we're feeling things, we're seeing things we've never seen before, the Sinai initiative. And there were thunderings and lightnings, and a dark cloud on the mountain. We'll hear these words this week. There were thunderings and lightnings. You know how the feeling of your inside is when you feel those things, like a sharp thorn has pricked your soul. There were thunderings and lightnings and a dark cloud on the mountain, and there was a sound of a very loud shofar, a trumpet sound, so that all the people who were in the camp trembled. Yes, there was this thorn prick, the Sinai prick of the puncturing and the awakening of what's inside. And Mount Sinai was completely in smoke, we'll read, because the Holy One descended upon it in ash and fire. And its smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked greatly. We trembled, the mountain quaked, and the blast of the shofar sounded long and became louder and louder. And then we hear the words, we read the words, Vayadaber Elohim et kol hadavarim ha'ele, and the Holy One devoured. He released prophetically these words, these devarim, prophetic declarations of power, these up over us. We will hear the voice of the Creator of the universe. And once you've heard it, you can't unhear it. You see people all the time on social media, on politics, on television. You can tell they've never heard the voice of the Holy One, because they say vain, folly-filled, nonsensical, angry things. They say offended things. They say racially charged things, ethnically charged things. They say all sorts of stuff, all sorts of ideologically charged things. But you can tell they've never heard the voice of the Creator speaking, because if they did, they would be caught up in the majesty and the beauty and the wonder of it all, and the possibilities and the potential, and they wouldn't be sitting there complaining and groaning and griping and whining and demanding justice and violence from people who do not even understand what those terms mean. Well, this is the parsha in which we will look at Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah in general, and the Aseret Hadibrot, or as the Western world has strangely come to call them, the Ten Commandments in particular. We'll look at Matan Torah, giving of Torah in general, and then we'll look at the Ten Commandments, Aseret Hadibrot in particular. We'll look at them through a totally different lens. Hopefully this will be your experience this week as we sit around the Shabbat table with the rabbi's son. I can't make this thing happen, but I believe the Holy One's voice will speak to you. And you will begin to see Torah through a completely new lens, through his eyes, not through man's eyes, not through some theologian's eyes, not even through Moshe's eyes, through the Holy One, the creator of the universe's eyes. May you see Torah today as it is, the voice of your bridegroom king, speaking to you about who you can be, who you should be, who he created you to be, who the world needs you to be, who your family needs you to be. Well, this is what we'll hear today. This is not some sterile episode of law giving, as the theologians have taught us it was. If you get that out of your head, now you can begin to find the energy and the flow and the power and the majesty of these words, and about connecting with the Creator through them. It is not a sterile episode of law giving, as the theologians have taught us it was. What the Torah is, what Matan Torah and what the Aseret HaDibrot in particular are, is portals opened by the Holy One on earth. Open where heaven touches earth, where there's this alignment between heaven and earth, and what comes to earth is what it pours out of heaven, the alignment. A portal opened by the Holy One on earth to elevate the God-man relationship, our knowledge of him, our relationship with him, our interactions with him, our co-laboring with him, to awaken these possibilities that we never knew existed, that's going to come through these portals of the Torah and through the Aseret HaDibrot. 10 portals released, 10 sin places of divine energy flowing to elevate the God-man relationship and its communion protocols and its co-laboring aspects, and take all of it, all of our relationship with the Creator, to a deeper and vastly more intimate method, a deep level. Well, this is a week when we find out that the Torah is not law. Torah doesn't mean law. That's what's been interpreted by Western theologians. Torah means guidance and instruction, like a mentor gives to his disciples or his mentees, those who he's training up like a master craftsman teaches an apprentice who he wants to raise up in his stead. This is this great personal communication of this is what you're supposed to do and this is who you're supposed to be. It is not a condemnation. It's not a challenge. It's not something we even obey. The cult of obedience is a dangerous cult. Not that there is not a level which we commit our wills to do so, and we commit our bodies and we do those things, but this is not about obedience. This is about becoming who we are created to be. Obedience is merely one of many steps that takes us from the path of doing our own will to surrendering to the will and the ways of the Holy One. So I'm going to relate this Torah to something you may understand or may not. In Hebrew tradition, and weddings, in marriages, there are two phases. There's, of course, maybe more than that. There's courtship, and that leads to betrothal. And betrothal is a period of time of conforming. The bride particularly conforms to the ideals, the plans, the stated purposes for her that are given to her at the betrothal by the bridegroom. And then we have, at that conclusion of that time, when the bridegroom and the bridegroom's father think the bride is ready to assume that role that she has been assigned in the betrothal documents, the erusin documents, then there is the actual wedding. And it's not just about a wedding. A marriage in Hebrew is not about a wedding. There is a wedding is a pathway into the deeper levels of marriage and co-laboring together, and everything is done together. That's the idea of togetherness and the idea of assuming a responsibility. And the bride becomes what the bridegroom envisioned and she agreed to become at the erusin. So I'm going to tell you that the closest analogy that I can come up with, sorry about the interruption, the closest analogy that I can come up with as opposed to law giving, of what's happening at Mount Sinai in this week's Parsha is erusin. It is betrothal. What we've had in Egypt and up to this point, and even leading through the first wilderness, has been courtship. The Holy One has been showing himself to and presenting himself to the proposed, we call it a bride prospect, which is Bnei Israel and the mixed multitude, that anyone who wishes to join them. This is what's been doing, man. Now we're coming to a place of Sinai. Sinai, we have the commitment being made, the not I say. We will make it happen. We will cause it to take place. We will cause it to become manifest. That's the message. That's the commitment we make. So this is that time, the day, great day of Erusin. It culminates the courtship process, lechezur in Hebrew, to court, to present, to get to know, and also the Beshoah phase. Lechezur, Beshoah are the two phrases that are used to describe courtship in the Hebrew mindset. And the one is the idea of getting to know, that's the lechezur, and the Beshoah is causing the heart to turn. There is a place at which there is an affection building. And Beshoah is turning the heart toward, turning the attention toward, turning the priorities, turning the love of the bride candidate toward the bridegroom. Well, the Sinai is designed to be the culmination, at least the first culmination of that. The actual wedding will be later. But that has happened, and so we've arrived at the chosen venue, which is Mount Sinai, the mountain beside Horeb, which is where the burning bush was. It's two mounts or two precipices, side by side. So we've arrived at the chosen venue at the appointed time in the early part of Sivan, in the third month of the new year that we're looking at. And it's still springtime, and the flowers, the wildflowers. Yes, the desert around Sinai has wildflowers, all sorts of wildflowers, colors of yellows and purples and reds, and there's berries coming off of the hawthorn, and there are little fruit bearing that are actually edible, little shrubs that bear these red fruits. There's reds, there's purples, there's yellows, there's whites. All throughout the desert floor, it's set up in this beautiful venue. We have the floral arrangement set for us at this betrothal ceremony. And then going to have this week the communication of the bridegroom's proposal. What is it? If as when and to the extent you will shema my voice, shema et briti, and shamar et briti, and shamartim et briti, if you will Shemar, treasure, cherish, turn your hearts toward and focus upon and carefully guard my covenant, then you will be unto me. This is the bridegroom's proposal to us. And you will be to us, be anam segila, a nation of special treasure, of special purpose, of special calling and mission, a model that I will put out and display for everyone in the world to see. You will be my kingdom of priests, my mamlechet, kohanim, my royal ambassadors to the rest of the nations. And you will be my goy kadosh. You will be the nation that demonstrates and releases kedusha, holiness, energy from heaven. The sounds, the sights, the power, the transformative energy of heaven comes through you. You will be my goy kadosh. This is the proposal. How can we refuse? How could anyone refuse that proposal? Moshe are going to communicate that proposal to Bnei Israel at the foot of Mount Sinai, in this venue with all the wildflowers blooming and the cloud hovering over the mountain and the thunders and the lightnings. You communicate this offer, and the bride candidate, we will accept. Hakala, we are Hakala, we are the bride candidate. And we will say, Kol asher diber Adonai, and naaseh, every word, everything, every prophetic announcement, every download the Holy One gives and releases, we will make it happen. This is our response. This is the bridegroom's. This is the engagement ceremony. This is the scene. This is the commitment that we make back after he tells us what he will do for us. We tell him what we will do. And the great cloud of witnesses has assembled around the mountain, and the bridal preparation protocols are laid out, and we do things like we change our clothes, we take a mikvah, we immerse ourselves in living water from that rock that flows through the camp that comes out of the heavens itself. We connect with heaven. We don't engage in physical appetites or urges. We self-deny for 3 days. Oh, and this is a process of lapakak, which is to open the ears and open the eyes and open the heart to prepare ourselves, to make ourselves ready. This is making ready of the bride. That happens at Sinai as well this week. And then the huppah is described and made beautiful, and the huppah is, and the sounds and the smells and the scene is depicted where these things, and then the ceremony unfolds, and we see the people go up and the Holy One come down, and there's this meeting in the place of interaction. And then there's the appointment of the shoshbin during the time of betrothal. The people, the bridegroom candidate and the bride, and the bridegroom candidate, the candidate of the bride and the bridegroom. Those two candidates do not meet together personally. There's an intermediary. There's a messenger that passes between them and carries the messages back and forth, and that's the shoshbin, and that is who Moshe is going to be appointed as the shoshbin, the messenger, the intermediary between the bride and the bridegroom during the betrothal period. That is going to happen this week. Wow. So let's get started with our call to worship. If you know it, sing along. Baruch Adonai Hamborak. Baruch Adonai Hamborak Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher bakabanu mikol ha'amin, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai, noten ha'Torah. May it be. Ken and amen. Now open our eyes, O Holy One, that we may see the wondrous things you have put in your Torah. For we are just strangers upon this earth. So do not hide your instructions, your directions from us. Amen. Last week, we ended Parsha Beshalach with a strange thing. Moshe built an altar. Something big is going to happen. And Moshe built an altar. This is the first time this has happened since Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Moshe built an altar, and he called its name Adonai Nisi. Adonai Nisi. Hard to translate into English, but let me do as best I can, give you word pictures, so hopefully make you see what he's saying here. Basically, Adonai Nisi is the Holy One is an uplifted banner, a sign around which we rally, we muster. The Holy One is everything to us. In other words, the Holy One is the unifying factor, the driving force, the motivational factor of our lives. We rally around Him, and He becomes to us like the banner that binds us together and that we follow and we pursue. Well, that preeminent place of putting the Holy One in that place, that is a big ship, because we've been thinking about just surviving in Egypt, and even in the first wilderness, in the wilderness of testing, we have only been able to focus upon ourselves and survival. But now Moshe started this process, and Sinai, what's going to happen in the Parsha Yitro is going to carry it forward. Is the Holy One truly the thing that makes our life worth living? Is He why we continue to live and get up every morning? Is He the most important person, the most important relationship we have? The Holy One is an uplifted one, a banner, a sign around which we rally, muster. Is He that to you? Moshe was proclaiming something that was not yet so, but that would become so. So, this calls us to mind as we're getting ready to get into Yitro, the last basic message the Creator spoke to us. After he said, remember what happened with Amalek. Remember that you're always going to be at war. Remember that you were going to need someone to follow in war and in struggles and in conflicts with other human beings and other human groups. But before that, he said, if, as, and when, this is Exodus 15, beginning with verse 25 and 26, middle of 25, if, when, as, to the extent you diligently Shema, this is the Creator of the universe speaking to the people of Israel, the people with, and also the mixed multitude who were there beside them. If, as, when, and to the extent you diligently shema, the voice, the sound, the words of the Holy One your God, will we diligently shema him? Will that become our focus? Will we? And also, if and when, as into you asa, you build what is yashar, what is straight, what is faith, what is useful, what is constructive in his sight, and you azan, you give your ears to his instructions, his specific directions, his mitzvot, and you shmar, you treasure, and you cherish, and you carefully guard, and you highly value all of his directions, all his instructions, all his hukot, all his do this and don't do that. If you do that, then he said, I will not put the establishment of all the machala, of all the negativities against you that I have brought against the Egyptians. And he says, for I am the Holy One who heals you and makes you whole. This is his goal. This is his purpose. You know we can trust him because he always wants to make us whole. He wants to heal us and make us whole. Now, every son of the daughter of the covenant must embrace four essential approaches. That was in that passage from Exodus 15, 25, and 26. First one is Shema, the voice. The second one is Asa, or build, or shape, calls to take form. What is straight and constructive and true in his sight. And then to give ear, Azan, to give ear to his mitzvot and his instructions. And four, to Shema, all of his directions, to treasure, to cherish. These are the four essential behavioral approaches. Now that is what he was forecasting over us, projecting, pronouncing over us in the last parsha. Now we begin this parsha. And what we will find is we will have a choice. We will be given first voices of men. The voice of the stranger will come. And it will sound intelligent, and it may be intelligent. But it will appeal to our pseudo-intellect. It will appeal to our desire for organization and structure. It will desire to our passion for numbers as opposed to people. It will not bring light and life. And then he will give us the alternative, the more beautiful, the more wonderful way. So here's the prologue from Exodus 18, 1 through 2. Vayishma Yitro, Kohen Midian, Chosen or Kotan Moshe, and the Yitro, the sheik or the diplomat of Midian, Moshe's father-in-law, heard. He gave ear. He responded to a message. What? Et kol asher asa Elohim leMoshe, and of all the Eternal had done, made happen for Moshe. Al Yisrael Amo, and for Israel his people. First for Moshe, then for Israel his people. Ki hotzi Adonai et Yisrael miMitzrayim, when the Holy One brought Israel forth from Mitzrayim. And Vayikach Yitro koten Moshe, and Yitro took things in hand. He took under his control, the mind control, the will control. He took Moshe under his control. Yikach. Now, the thing is, the verb is lakach, and it means to take as one takes a bride. To take, and now he took Yitro before the Holy One. Yitro took Moshe before the Holy One could take Moshe and his people. So we're going to see the contrast. I know. I've always, in religious forms of Judaism and in Christianity, in forms of religion, I've always heard Yitro being some kind of really great guy, and he may have been. This is not about the quality of his personality. This is about learning lessons of who we trust and who we don't trust. Whether we trust men from a foreign mindset and ways, or whether we allow the fruit to tell us who to listen to. Yitro brought no fruit. But he brought wisdom, intelligence. He brought noise. He got words that made us turn our attention to him and our ears to him. But he didn't bring fruit. By their fruit you shall know them, we are later told. So, who will we listen to? Will we listen to men? Will we listen to movements? Will we listen to ideologies? Will we listen to demagogues? Will we listen to people of rhetoric? Will we listen to those things? Will we listen to the talking heads of our societies and our ethnicities? Will we listen to the talking heads of our religion? Or will we listen for the voice? Will we let the Holy One be our banner and our lifted up, the one who we rally around? Will we be divided? Because men will always divide and movements will always divide. They are critical by nature. They say, we are set apart. We are not like them. We're going to be different in a different way. The Holy One always says, I will give you something we can rally behind and unify behind. That's the difference. That's the fruit. So we're going to talk about very shortly, and I've really already done it, talk to you about Yitro. I'm not here to condemn the man. I am saying he may have had everything in good intentions or not. The issue is not what Yitro did. The issue is what we will do when other people speak to us. How will our ears respond? How will our hearts, how will our lives respond when we hear men talk versus when we actually hear and sense the resonance of the voice of the creator of the universe himself speaking to us? So our challenge this week is going to be voice recognition. I call it Shema resonance training. Who will you Shema? Who will we Shema? Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Who are we to Shema? Who are we to respond to and resonance with? Who are we to pay attention to and turn our hearts to? Who are we to be with? It is not men. It is not their ideas. It is not their ideologies, their philosophies. It is not some ethnicity. It is not some culture. It is not some nation or national movement. It is not some revolution or not some declaration of men. It is the voice of the creator of the universe. May this be the week in which you retune your ears and your heart to the voice of the creator. See, we are called to do the will and to follow the ways of the one who created and sustains us. We are called to do the will and follow the ways of the one who created and sustains us, not some good idea men came up with. We're called to face the challenges life presents to us, like Joseph did. The source of kindness and calm, shalom, patience, forbearance, willingness to experience things and yet still see the good, the possibilities, and the potential, self-denial, self-control. These are the factors of shalom, peace, joy, hope, life. These are the challenge how we're supposed to. We can only do that by connecting to Him, not by connecting to a religion, not by connecting to a belief system, not by connecting to an ideology, not certainly by some national or agenda or some politician's voice or some entertainer or educator's ways. We must contact and make communication and fit into the plan and the scheme of the creator of the universe. Not default to the dictates of our own flesh, or the counsel of the ungodly, which is our pseudo-intellect. So we have two other voices that we hear regularly: the voice of the flesh, the voice of our want. But don't you know you want to? But you know what feels good? Don't you know? You really enjoy it. It would really be good for you. Really, this is the voice of the flesh. And then there's the voice of the ungodly, the counsel of the ungodly, which is a pseudo-intellect. Well, don't you know it's right? It's not right what they're doing. It's right what they're doing. That's so horrible. That's so terrible. Our group is better. This is the voice, the counsel of the ungodly, the pseudo-intellect. But what our calling is to follow the voice and do the will of the creator of the universe. And that requires us to really focus on voice recognition. Do we recognize his voice? Yeshua said it this way: the sheep know the shepherd, and they know his voice, and his voice they follow. They follow him because they know his voice. But the voice of a stranger, the voice of a non-shepherd, the voice of someone who is other, the voice of another, they will not shema. They will not follow him because they don't know his voice. Now, do we have this interaction? Yeshua, the Messiah, was trying to teach us that this has been the issue all along. Do we recognize the voice of our Creator? And when we hear it, do we resonate with it? Or does our flesh say no? Or does our pseudo-intellect say it can't be? What is it? Are we really going to resonate with the voice of the Creator? To whom will we offer our ears? To whom will we offer our hearts? Whose words, whose ways will we and will we not shema and Aman. How we want Shema means to resonate with, and then therefore to follow through with resonating is, some people call it obeying, but you just do what the words direct you. The energy doesn't come from your obedience. It doesn't come from you, it comes from the words. The words are allowed to not be interrupted with. Let the flow of those words come out. And then the second thing we do is aman them. We take them like a mother takes a child to the breast, and we nurture them, and we hum over them, we sing over them, we speak of them, we communicate with them, and we nurture and cause them to grow. This is the idea of Shema and Aman. This is emunah. Emunah means cultivating as a child, as a mother cultivates a child, and training up and giving affection to and prioritizing the way a mother does a child. And so those are the things we are to do. Now, if and when we have heard the Creator's voice and it resonated with us, I hope you have experienced that. I hope to some small degree, even in the course of listening to my poor words, behind my poor words, coming despite my poor words, the voice of the Creator of the universe is speaking into your heart, into your soul, into your eternal spirit, and awakening who you are. If, when, and as, and to the extent you hear Shema, his voice, and it resonates within you, and you respond affirmatively, I call it the Shema phenomenon. When it strikes, it hits. When it awakens something in you, muscle memory is created, and you know the voice. You can't unknow it. You can't unhear it. You know his voice, and it begins to take priority and supremacy because it's the most beautiful voice, the most beautiful sound, the most wonderful message you've ever heard all of your life. I hope you see the Holy One's words and his Torah and his ways as being the most beautiful, wonderful thing in this earth that you could ever possibly experience. So you know his voice if you've heard it and it resonated with you, and you went through the Shema phenomenon and muscle memory was created. You now know his voice, and you cannot know it, and you can give it priority and supremacy over all of the voices. Supremacy. There is for those of you who are not Americans, who don't live in this country, I apologize somewhat because I'm going to talk to some about people who in America may have heard before. And maybe you've heard it before as well. So please don't turn me off or just go away. I want you to get to more important things in a moment. But Article 6, Clause 2 of the United States Constitution. Again, I'm not trying to teach you law. I'm trying to give you the idea of supremacy. This is called the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution. And it says, this Constitution and the laws of the U.S., which shall be made in pursuance thereof, which and all treaties made or which may be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. There are certain things, no matter what a state or a city or a county or some ruler might say, the law of the land, supreme law of the land is what's in the Constitution and what's in the laws of the United States and what's in the treaties the United States has made. That's the supremacy clause. Why did I go there? Because I want you to understand that Torah is the supremacy clause of the Bible. Torah is the supremacy clause of the wisdom of God. It is of the constitution of the people of God. While all the passage of Torah and the prophets and the writings of the Tanakh are valuable and they're profitable for teaching and for reproof and correction and for training, instruction, and tzedakah or righteousness, not all carry equal weight. It is words spoken directly by the Holy One. Words spoken directly by the Holy One that carry the highest authority, the supremacy. They are the gold standard of truth and trustworthiness. Now, in New Testaments, in the Christian world has developed this thing called a red letter edition. And so they're saying basically these words that you're going to see that are in red, which are of course the words spoken directly from the mouth of Yeshua, the Messiah. Those words are deemed to be special words because they're in red, and they're in red because they're the words that came out of the mouth of Yeshua. Now, this Torah is, whenever it says certain things in Torah, it tells you this is a red letter word. The Holy One is speaking. And these words are the words of the very mouth and the very heart of the Creator of the universe. These are the ones among which you rally. These are the ones which you're supposed to take first priority and really get you going. And these words spoken directly by the Holy One carry the highest authority, and they are the gold standard of truth and trustworthiness. Now, what I'm saying this to you about is because this Parsha Yitro, beginning with chapter 19, but especially beginning with chapter 20, and then continuing thereafter in the next Parshot, next sections of Torah, is going to be full of creator speak. The voice of the Holy One himself will speak. That's again, we're going to hear the 10 quote commandments, the Aseret HaDibrot will be, and it'll be a free-flowing download of creator speak. And this is what is really important, not what theologians think about it, not what religions teach about it, not what scientists would say about it, not what educators would say about it. It is what the Holy One says, the words themselves. Now, Torah gives us a formula to introduce creator speak to us, to kind of say, tune your ears up, get ready to listen, because what you're about to hear is creator speak. And that formula, that cue, verbal cue, is Vayadaber Adonai El, and usually it's Moses. Vayadaber Adonai El Moshe Lemor, and the Holy One Dabar, he spoke to Moshe, and Lemor, he gave words, he is speaking. Now this is Torah's equivalent to a notice of red letters in the accounts of Yeshua. The key word that we're going to need to learn, and it's important before we get into the specifics of it to understand what it is. It's not a commandment. Commandment is mitzvah. There's another word. And that commandment is really not even, mitzvah is not even a commandment. It is an injunction of a master to an apprentice to say, here's the way you need to do things to accomplish the objective that we're trying to accomplish. And you have the beauty and the majesty and the well-done nature of things the way it's supposed to be. That's what a mitzvah is. Now, what's a debar? Because we're going to say, dibrot, aseret hadibrot will be what we call these 10 words. He's about to speak 10 words over us at Sinai. These 10 words are like the declaration by the bridegroom to his bride about what kind of bride he intends to marry, and what he is calling her, the bride candidate, to begin to work into their lives, her life, and her approach to life as her goals, her priorities, and she's supposed to show some sign, some fruit that she's actually evidencing these before the wedding will take place. That's what a debar is in this context. The term is introduced in Genesis 15:1, and the Holy One, the word of the Holy One, it says in English, the debar came to Avram. But a debar is a discourse or a course of dealing that both talks, they conveys a verbal message, and walks, carries energy for movement, action, and build. So if you want to talk about the word of the Holy One, the debar in this context, what the 10 words are, these things are all a course of dealing that talks and walks. It has energy in the words themselves, carries energy for movement and action and build out. I could go on Dibrot is the word that's actually added here, and Dibrot is the plural feminine form of debar. Hebrew is a language that uses gender, male or female. Everything's either male or female. So when you take and you make it in the feminine context, the Dibrot, plural, feminine, many women, many of the feminine characteristic of people will do so. And it's like the word actually is translated as rafts, R-A-F-T-S, rafts or floats, or like carts for transportation, usually on water, but it could be on earth, on ground. These 10 words, these 10 declarations of who the Holy One designed us to be and calls us to be and to conform to, these things are like life rafts. Rafts carrying something into the world, floats, carts that carries the most precious things in the world. These 10 words are more than commandments. I hope you understand where we're going with that. All right. All the 10 words, all the words of the Holy One, everything that we would put in red or follow with Vayadaber Adonai El Moshe Lemor, all these words are like seed, containing vast reservoirs of potential spiritual energy. I'm going to repeat that. All the Holy One's words, this is like from the parable of the sower and the seed from Yeshua, but this is the biblical basis for it, but we know it. All the Holy One's words are like seed, like zara, And they contain each word, each thing he says, each release of energy from heaven that he gives verbally has vast resources and reservoirs of potential spiritual energy. And it is an energy that doesn't just come once, it comes cycle after cycle of life. It provides health and healing and wholeness and blessing. I sent my word and I healed your disease. It's a blessing that will not only repeat itself, but will grow exponentially and do that year after year and generation after generation and age unto age. Oh, the words of the Holy One. Oh, this divine messaging that he does through Yitro. They're like seed. Let them be planted in your heart. Let them be planted in your life, in your house, in your family. Let them be planted in your neighborhood. Let them be planted in your workplace, in every one of your spheres of influence. Let these words that have energy to repeat and bring forth health and life come into your world. His words are so much not orders barked from on high, standards that will be judged in accordance with. The issue is, do we bear fruit of them, not do we comply with them in some sort of fulfilling purpose? We can never do those things. But are we bearing fruit of them as we live our lives? These words, the Yitro, are like a message that a bridegroom whispers lovingly over his beloved as he is spreading his tallit word. This is what I see in you, my beloved. This is what I've designed you to be. This is what you have the potential of becoming. These things. And as he invites her to drink from his cup and eat from his table. So we're at the time of ear discipline, tone differentiation. Do we know the difference between the voice and the messaging and the power of the Holy One's communications versus what men tell us? Do we know true tone, voice, volume, rhythm, and words that come from heaven? And do we know how to distinguish that from distortion, distraction, deception, division mongering that men come up with? The man's serpent-inspired fruit of the tree of knowledge, deviations. All right, I want to get directly into it. This week, Sinai at last. Beginning with chapter 19, verse 1. Here's how it's going to read in the Hebrew. B'chodesh hashlishi, in the third moon cycle. Letzet b'nei Israel me'eretz Mitzrayim. After B'nai Israel went out of the land of Egypt. Well, I told you, first of Sivan, early Sivan. In the third moon cycle, after B'nai Israel went out from the land of Egypt, Bayom hazeh ba'u midbar Sinai. On that very day, this day, they came to the watershed of Sinai. Now, when we get to the desert, everything's going to be based upon watersheds. Where there's a hill, there's an encroachment, a hill, a mountain. Things begin to, water begins to flow. So the watershed we're in is Sinai, which means thorn, pricking, sharp thorn. So now here we are. The first, we know the time, we know the appointed time, we know the place where it's Sinai, and here's what it says next. Vayisa'u me'Rephidim, for they had lifted up, they had pulled up stakes at Rephidim, or from Rephidim. V'yavo'u midbar Sinai, and they had come with him. They had come with the Holy One to the desert wilderness of Sinai. Vayachnu b'midbar, and they had camped in its wilderness areas. Vayikan sham Yisrael neged hahar, and Israel then encamped before the mountain. Moshe Allah el ha-Elohim, and Moshe ascended towards the sovereignty. Vayikra elav Adonai min hahar, and the Holy One called out to him from the mountain. Le'emor, and now we're going to see, your Bible should be in red if you want to use that terminology. This is going to be God speak, Creator speak, and it begins with these words. Ka tomar lebeit Yaakov, say, thus you shall say to the house of Yaakov, Uvaged le b'nei Israel, and you shall tell b'nei Israel. Again, continue with Creator speak. Atem reitem asher asiti lemitzrayim. You've seen what I did to the Egyptians. Va'esa'echem el kanfei nesharim. How I lifted you up and carried you on eagle's wings. Va'avi etkem elai, and I escorted you, transported you to myself. Oh, This is the words of the Holy One. It continues, Va'atem im shamua tishmeu b'koli. And now, therefore, if and when you shema, and you shemaing, in shemaing, you shema my voice, ushmartem et briti, and you cherish, and you treasure, and you guard, prioritize my covenant, my agreement with you, my declarations over you, and your declarations back to me. V'yitin li segula mikol ha'amin. Then you will be a special treasure, model to me above all nations. Ki li kol ha'aretz, for all the earth is mine. V'atem tihu li mamlechet kohanim, and you will be for me a kingdom of royal diplomats or priests or ambassadors. V'goy kadosh, and you will be a holy nation. Are you hearing the words of the Holy One speaking his proposal over you? This is how he sees you. This is how he wants you to be, and your family to be, in your household, and those who come along with you, those who come with you should be these things, the Segulali, his special treasure people, his Mamlechet Kohanim, his kingdom of royal ambassadors, heaven's ambassadors to the earth and its nations, and Goy Kadosh, the nation which releases the Kedusha energy, what fuels and powers heaven, begins to fuel and power mankind and earth, and brings forth fruit, brings forth life, brings forth the desert bursting into bloom wherever you may be. All right, that's how we started. And so he gives this proposal to Bnei Israel. Well, three-pronged proposal. If you will, two facets. If you will shema my voice, will we shema his voice? Will we get the shema protocols operating? Will we begin to resonate? Will we build that muscle memory by listening to what he has to say, by prioritizing his words over the words of men and the words of movements and the words of religion, the words of books? Will we prioritize his voice? And secondly, will we treasure and cherish the covenant we're making at this mountain? The covenant he made with Avram that he's now making macro in the realm. The same covenant with Avram they made. The same things of Avram will be promised and will come forth. They'll come forth in macro through a certain way of doing things. There will be 10 specific illustrations, and then that will be built upon, like a house is built upon a foundation by the rest of Torah. So it says, Vayabo Moshe. So Moshe came with, went back to the camp, Vayikra, and he called the elders of the people together, Vayasem Lifnehem, and he laid before him all these words, these Devarim, these prophetic announcements that the Holy One had commanded him, the offer, the betrothal proposal. And then it says, Vaya anu kol ha'am yachdav yamru, and then the whole nation, the people, all responded together as one and said, Kol asher diber Adonai na'aseh. Everything the Holy One says, all of his pronouncements, all of his declarations over us, we will make them happen. We will cause them to come into being like a potter causes a thing in his head, an idea to come in his head, to become a useful vessel in somebody else's hand. Asa means an artisan's commitment. Asa means we'll make an artisan's commitment to apply all of our creative energy and all the skill that we possess to make and build and cause what you have said, your vision, your blueprint to take form and shape and substance, to make ourselves an Am Segula, to make ourselves into this Goy Kadosh, to make ourselves into this Mamlekat HaKohanim. We will commit ourselves to this Shitre Eresin, this document, this declaration of who we're to start to become, who we commit to become. And we'll make it functional and visible to the world. Okay, and now we're going to continue with the words of the Holy One. First of all, it says, Vayashev Moshe et devrei ha'am et Adonai. And the Holy One returned the nation's response to the Holy One. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe. Now we're back to Creator speak again. And the Holy One said to Moshe, get ready, here comes your Creator speak. Haneh anochi ba'eleka. Behold, he says to Moshe, I am coming with you, to you. Ba'al ha'anan, I am coming wrapped in a multi-level cloud, covering myself in that cloud. Ba'avor yishma, and the people are going to shema. They're going to resonate with my sound of my voice and the meanings, and they were going to begin to let the energy of those things begin to pulse in them and produce what they're designed to produce. Ba'avor yishma ba'am ba'dabri imak, and they will shema when I speak with you, Moshe. V'gam b'cha ya'aminu le'alam, and in you they will hold fast, like a mother holds a child forever. And then Moshe brought the people out of the camp. For chapters 19, verse 17 and following. Moshe brought the people out of the camp to meet with the Holy One, to experience with hearing and with senses. We have not done this before. Only Moshe has met with him before this. And now all of us are invited to come to the mountain and come to the response to the sound we're hearing, and come to this huppah he's prepared for us, this commitment that he calls us to make, and this approach that he desires from us. Moshe brought the people out of the camp to meet with the Holy One, and they stood, Yatsav, they stood waiting patiently, expectantly at the foot of the mountain, and Mount Sinai was completely in smoke because the Holy One descended upon it in fire, in ash, and the smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked. We'll never forget this. This is supposed to be engraved in our hearts and our minds and our memories forever. We're supposed to talk about this when we sit in our homes and when we walk by the way, when we lie down and we rise up. This was the moment we began. And even though physically you or I in our physical bodies as they exist were not present at Sinai, in our neshama we were there. We were there, and we have memory of it in our neshama, in our spirit. And when the sound of the shofar sounded long, it says, and became louder and louder, Moshe spoke. And when Moshe spoke, the Holy One answered and responded to him by his voice. First of all, we hear Moshe speak, then we hear the voice of the Holy One responding. How glorious. And then the Holy One came down. He descended upon Mount Sinai. Ever seen it at a wedding ceremony where the bridegroom comes in first, and then the bride comes up later. And so the Holy One comes down like a bridegroom upon Mount Sinai to the top, and on the top, and the shaking of the mountain. And the Holy One called Moshe to the top and the shaking mountain, and Moshe went up, and the Holy One said to Moshe, "Go down and warn the people, lest they pull down and tear down and break boundaries to gaze at me too early, too soon, and many of them perish." He says, then he begins to speak his words. After people respond, and we take our positions under the huppah, our correct positions, safe positions at this time for our huppah of betrothal, not wedding. Here we go. He begins to speak. These are Creator speak words. The first of the 10 words are Anochi Adonai Eloheka. The Holy One speaks and says, I am the Holy One, your God. There is this, I belong to you. I am your God. There is a sense of he belongs to us. We are his. He is ours. There is relationship. There is intimacy. There is a connection that is unbreakable. Anochi Adonai Elohim. Do you have that unbreakable connection with the Holy One? He has declared it over you. His words are reverberating over the earth. Now coming into you, he says, you are mine and I am yours. We have this unity connecting us. Anochi Adonai Eloheka. Oh, beloved. And the famous words of you've got mail. He had me at hello. The Holy One had us at Anochi Adonai Eloheka. But he continued. Asher Hotzeka Ma'eretz Mitzrayim Mibet Avadim. Who I brought you forth. I'm the one who brought you forth from the land of Egypt, from your bondage house, from your lifestyle of bondage. Well, this first word is to be the lens through which we view everything about life. Anochi Adonai Eloheka. I brought you out. I am your God. You are my people. The lens through which it's just what we determine life through. Wait a minute. My flesh might want to do that, but I am his and he is mine. I am my beloved's and he is mine. This is our deity paradigm, our God paradigm. This is how we determine what is important in life and what's not. All right, so that's the first thing he said. Then he says, since that is true, that's the essence of all these. That's why it's not 10 Commandments. So now that you know this essential, basic truth of your life, here's the way in which I intend my bride to be. I say, I envision you. This is how you need to work toward accomplishing it. Bear some fruit that you're accomplishing this. First one is, Lo yiyeh lecha Elohim acharim al pnei. You are not to have any other authorities, sovereignties between your face and my face. Since I am yours and you are mine, we're not supposed to let other people in between us. Other people, other sovereignty, other nations, other priorities, other commitments come between us. Nothing comes between us. No other gods, no other priorities, no other ideologies, no other philosophies, no other priorities of any variety will come between us. No other commitments. Lo ta'aseh lecha fesel v'chol temuna, and you are not to build anything. Your creative energy is designed for me to bring about asa, to build, to cause to come forth, to make it happen. What I pronounced over you, you're my Amsagila, you're my Mamlech Kohen, my kingdom of royal ambassadors. You are my Goy Kadosh. This is what your creative energies are designed to focus upon. So you will not use your creative energies. You will not build or create any image or likeness. Anything you see on the earth, you're not trying to make that. You're trying to make something heavenly come to earth, not something earthly come to life in a different form. That's the difference. You're not to make likenesses according to your flesh's desires or your pseudo-intellect's ideas of what might be beautiful. And he goes on, the more creators speak. Lo tish tachave lechem velo ta'avdim, and you will not bow down to, surrender your will or your hunger or your appetite to such images or likenesses. And you will not worship them. You will not consider them valuable, and you will not serve them. Because why? I am yours, and you are mine. Ki anoki Adonai Eloheka. He follows up this. Ki anoki Adonai Eloheka. I am the Holy One, your God. And Elkanah, I am a zealous one. I am a passionate one. Poked avon avod al banim al shelashim al rebim lasonai. And I will visit the third and the fourth and the generation of the children to weed out the perversity of fathers. V'aseh chesed le'alafim ul shomrei mitzvotai. It says, and I will show kindness, covenant faithfulness to thousands, to the thousandth degree, it might be read, for those who love me and who shamar my mitzvot, against to shamar my instructions for living. All right, let's continue with the Creator speak. Do you know these words? Do you know what he's saying? Because no other principalities or competing interests of any kind are ever to be allowed to come between us and or obscure our vision of him or interrupt our intimacy with him. And then he goes on, you know the rest of the words. I'll leave that to your study today as you go into it. The other 9 of the words that he's spoken over us. Oh, beloved, listen for the voice. Get some Shema protocol operating in you. Understand this is a bridegroom king betrothing you to himself, offering you the best possible life a human being could live, offering it to you individually and collectively as a people. Because he's offering this to multitudes, to thousands, to generations, as a matter of fact. This higher level of life, this more excellent way. Listen for the voice. Distinguish that voice. And never follow the voice of a stranger, the voice of another. Never get caught up in their negativity. Never get caught up in their agendas. Beloved, we belong to him. He belongs to us. Shabbat Shalom.